Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yeah. Good morning or good evening, you all. So today we are covering the second part of introduction to RPA UiPath. So yesterday we have covered I will briefly discuss about yesterday what we have covered. So we have covered yesterday like what is RPA and why, what are the benefits of RPA and why organization need to implement RPA, and among that and other than that, like what are the best tools available in the RPA market, and why UiPath is the best tool among those, and uh, so what are the prerequisites actually for the to learn the UiPath. Okay, so we can actually go through the uploaded video. I mean, yesterday it has been shared to the in the WhatsApp group, so you can go through those video like in to know more about in detail about those topics. Okay, so today we will be covering the RPA, I mean the RPA scenarios. Okay, so what are the scenarios or what are the tasks like are good for are good candidates for RPA? I mean RPA implementation, and RPA use cases in various domains and various industries. Okay, so we will be discussing a few, but the list is more in that. And RPA life cycle. Okay, for any to implement the automation. So what are all the things? I mean, what are all the phases there in that life cycle? What is the system requirement to develop or to install for the installation of UiPath? And what are the various editions available currently in the UiPath, the installation process of UiPath, and what are the requirements for that? Okay, any prerequisites are required or not? Okay, and the different components of UiPath and UiPath architecture. Okay, these are the points I'm going to cover today. So with this, the introduction to the RPA UiPath will be completed. Okay, once we cover this, we are good to go with. Once we understood all this, we are good to go with the UiPath development. So, I mean, what are the various scenarios actually good for automation? Okay, so we will be like in our organizations, in many organizations, these are all the common tasks actually, like they will be doing it either manually or like semi-automatically or like by through some different process. Okay, so if we see like the most commonly used activities for to carry any business activity or like business task. So these highlighted tasks will be mostly used actually, like suppose in an invoice generation system or any report generation process, PDF, either extract data from PDF or like generate the PDF task will be there. So that kind of task can be automated. Customer service, like suppose any for any reception for any organization, any reception or like customer call centers. So customers will be calling and like inquiring for various details. Okay, we can by like creating a chatbots, like we can actually like address some more than like 50% of the queries which are like common queries, frequently asked queries. Okay, and data entry. Okay, data entry like is a web automation, like either the organization, like in the organization there is a lot of various data will be coming into the organizations that need to be sometimes manually extract the data from various resources, like suppose invoices will be coming in various forms to an industry, to any organization, like in the PDF soft copy or Word soft copy, or in Excel form, or in the hard copy or fax. Okay, that those data manually they will be like collating and entering manually, and then like they will be further processing for next payments, or like uh, further like it will be like provided to the financial department, I mean finance department, for further processing. And coming to the automated testing, like I mean we can automate the testing, okay, other than the regular testing. um, in the manual, I mean in the manual testing, so test scenarios will be like in a Excel sheet, or those steps can be like uh, mm, automated using web automation. Okay, and once the web automation is done, like we can run it for a number of times for any release. Like suppose if you wanted to test for a small functionality, we can actually run those functionality related tasks, I mean test cases only. So it also supports the automated testing. In the financial services, okay, so in the financial services, many of the data like will be coming in the form of Excel. So we need to extract the data from Excel and process each record by record. Suppose in a financial services, in the sense like if you wanted to like send a statement of a customer every month, okay, so based on the data available in the data, I mean financial organization databases, it has to be extracted and put it into Excel, and then like processed in the web, and then like can generate the PDFs or statement PDFs, and it can be sent to the appropriate customers based on the email data given in the customer account information. So invoice generation is also a common task actually for many suppliers of the goods. Okay, so they have to generate the invoice and send it to their customers. Okay, so they can actually like by taking all the data in the form of, or like I mean in the at the source location, they will be having the data in the form of web forms. Okay, in the web application, they will be having the data like they will be entering some quantity, and they will be the price, unit price, and the whole price will be like generated on the can be seen on the web application, but that has to be like sent to the customers in the form of PDF. Okay, so here we will be like extracting the data from web application and creating a PDF statements, okay, for invoice generation. So these are all the common scenarios. So there are many other scenarios also supported, but here the most highlighted, I mean most commonly used RPA scenarios. Okay, so it is being discussed over here. And if you see the RPA use cases, okay, in various domains and various industries, RPA can be fit actually. Like RPA can be already it is in presence, but these are all the scenarios where RPA can be implemented, and it is under implementation also. Like so many of the industries, you know. So here I will be covering the mainly like the top 6 domains like telecom, IT services, HR services, manufacturing, healthcare, and yeah, those are the, and banking and finance actually. Yeah, you see. See, in the telecom domain, generally like various tasks actually will be it has to be carried out. Okay, those tasks actually currently involved manual intervention. So those tasks can be like manual intervention can be eliminated, and those tasks can be automated using RPA tools. Okay, for example, account checking. Okay, telecom companies need to do a account check. of users who are opting for postpaid accounts, it requires manual processing of documentation. So documentation process involves manual intervention, like manual efforts. Okay, so once the account information is given in the form of a document, so that document can be data, that can be scrapped using the RPA, and then further it is processed and the account verification can be done without human effort. So this is a good candidate for RPA implementation. And report generations. The RPA operators need to manually generate reports for connectivity issues based on the severity and send it to executives. Okay, suppose there is a signal, low strength signal is reported in a particular area. That has to be forwarded to the concerned executives for that particular area. Suppose there is a signal down in one of the area, like due to some cable cut or something, like any other maintenance activities going on in that area. Obviously, there will be downtime for that area. Immediately, earlier that was reported. Any customer from that area will be reporting to the call center, and then from there the request is forwarded to the concerned executives in that particular area. Okay, now with the automation, if there is any disruption happens in the line, right, in that area, automatically bot will raise a request, and it will be based on the location, it will be forwarding the requests to the concerned executives for that particular area. You're able to follow any? You are with me?
Yes, actually, I missed yesterday's class, so I'm just curious, when we are implementing all this, what level of coding skills is needed?
Coding, there is, very minimal coding is required. That is also not, this is actually low code or no code model. Most of the 80% of the task will be drag and drop only. Okay.
Okay.
Very minimal statements, assignment statements will be there. So that part I will be covering in the first 3-4 classes. Actually, I will be covering in the C#. Okay.
Okay.
I will fill some few small programs, so you will be will feel more comfortable after those sessions.
Okay, so it's mostly a C# coding, correct?
C#, actually it supports both the VB.NET and C#. Okay, so anything would be fine.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it is more readable format only. The statements which we are using in the demos or tutorials or projects, which are most readable. We can able to make it out actually what we are doing in that. They are not very complex statements.
Okay. So
Okay.
when so you said that this being used statements and all that. So does this interact with the DB? So we will be configuring a DB SQL statements or something like that. Is it involving that?
No, not. Not up to that level. Okay, there are scenarios where we can actually interact with the databases as well. But in our scenarios, in our portion, our topics, we are not using that DB statements. But we can actually use it. Suppose to pull a database, to pull a data of employees from a database. Okay, we can actually write a simple query. Okay, and that can be as a custom activity. As a custom activity, we can write. Okay.
Okay.
If that level of understanding or expertise is there, then it is very well and good. If it is not there, it is also fine. Actually, it is those statements are very simple, like SQL query statements are very simple if you are going to use. Okay, very
Okay.
like select queries only, like pulling the data from multiple databases or like single database tables. Okay.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So
Huh.
let us not think in that complex way. Okay. So so let us. I mean that is very in depth of RPA task. But that is
Okay.
not required as of now.
Okay.
So we need to understand how the tool is working and how the what are the potentiality of the tool and how best this tool can be used in various RPA automation scenarios.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And coming to the simple query forwarding. So RPA bots can receive mails from various, bots can receive emails from users and other stakeholders and forwarding them automatically to the concerned people based on the few parameters. Okay, this is like a bot is monitoring a web inbox. A particular email is created, email ID is created. That inbox, this that inbox, that email ID used for any kind of queries for a particular organization. Like if we are sending a query to a particular any organization, right, it will be provided one email ID. If we can develop a bot to monitor that inbox of that particular email account, and for every email it will go through it, and based on the few parameters, it will make it out uh, to which department that email can be forwarded for the respective for the relevant action. Okay, so manually, like if we wanted to do this activity manually, it will take lot of it involves lot of human effort. Okay, suppose if there are some 1,000 mails coming every day, it is very difficult to manually monitor all those emails, go through each and every email, and just take appropriate action. Okay, but 100% we cannot do by RPA, but at least we can actually minimize the human effort in this kind of uh, watching the mails and like forwarding it to the respective department. Some mails may be coming as an inquiry, some mails may be like a important communication to a certain department, so that can be so that kind of activities can be done with the RPA bots. Okay, and number porting, actually in telecom, number portability is one of the feature actually. So we can actually change the service provider with the same number. Okay, so before doing that, they will be performing some background operations, like they will be verifying whether any remarks on this current number with the previous service providers. So those kind of checks they will be doing manually by looking into various websites or various applications, and further then they will be taking out the decision to port the number from previous the other service provider to the current to our service provider. Okay, these kind of, there are many steps involved in doing the number porting. So these kind of issues, this kind of task can be automated by using RPA bots. Okay, these are all the few things covered in the telecom domain. There are many, like, but these are all the known scenarios. Actually, many of the users will be aware of these scenarios. That is the reason I took these simple scenarios. Okay, there are many more actually in the telecom domain. The list is more. Okay, now in the IT and software services, if you see this use case scenarios, use cases or scenarios, like in IT industry, IT industry in the sense like IT departments, each, the hardware of organizations. So they need to procure the, once they get the machines or like systems or laptops or desktops or servers, so they need to install certain tools for the respective, I mean from to where these servers or machines can be used. Okay, so based on the projects, they have to install the respective softwares in the particular desktop or server or laptops. Okay, and also eventually they have to upgrade the softwares based on the patches coming up, or like any updates, or like suppose some softwares need to be deleted and some softwares need to be like installed. So those kind of requests, so they can automate using the RPA tools. Okay, suppose for example, if taking for example in a organization, a new department in a new project has come and there are a requirement for 100 missions to be configured in less time, in a very less time. So what they will be like we can create a RPA bot, and all these 100 missions can be like connected in the LAN, and they can actually there are steps like for installing like Visual Studio or UiPath or like Microsoft Office. So like that, like they will be like having a various steps to install these softwares or like configure these softwares. The configuration, similarly, configuration also like similar to the above tools installation only. Suppose if any project, the projects, any project or product will be like gone through in multiple phases during its life cycle. Once development is done, it has to be tested locally, and then it has to be moved to the test environment. Okay, where the testing team will like do the quality testing, quality QA scenarios, quality assurance scenarios, or test cases. They will run the test cases, which will be like making that product or project error proof, or like bug free product. And then they will also cover for the functionality of that project or product. Further, that will be like moved to user acceptance testing, UAT, and further it is moved to production. Okay, in different environments, configurations of the servers will be different actually. In QA and UAT environment, the servers will be limited, maybe 1 or 2 servers, but in the production it may be more actually, based on the user base. If the users are more, then we need to use more servers. So, and the configuration for depends on the, suppose the configuration for each environment is different. So these tasks can be like automated actually, like using the RPA bots. The automation testing also, like earlier manual testing, and there are few automated testing tools are available, but this also supports automation testing. Okay, like the test scenarios will be in the form of either in Excel or in some list actually. So that will be like based on the scenarios, it can go and if it is a web application testing, based on the steps, it will perform those steps using the web automation, and it will make sure that the test will be passed, or like once test is passed, then it will be like record that information in a particular Excel, and further that complete list of test cases, the result of complete list of test cases will be sent to either through email, or it will be published, or it can be saved into a particular location. Okay, this way, like these are the basic scenarios, but there are many other, like suppose business users will be like testing the applications like a UAT, so they will be having the data in the form of Excel. Okay, so they need to do it manually actually. So that kind of scenarios also we can those are actually critical for business. Okay, that has to be done without error and with more accuracy. Suppose any business users did any mistake, right, where bots cannot do. So those kind of business testing scenarios also can be done using RPA bots. Okay, so those are all repetitive tasks. Okay, where there is no much human thinking is required. Those are all, I mean, we can say in the normal way, I mean, normal language, those are all some boring tasks can be done automatically. So we can actually save a lot of effort and time, and with more accuracy and within less time, we can achieve those tasks effectively. So basically, like I mean, all these RPA tasks, RPA automation, RPA or any RPA automation is doing the repetitive tasks. Actually, repetitive tasks, it will be doing automation to avoid the human intervention and to save the time and cost and improve the efficiency. Like we will be, whatever the scenarios we will discuss, we will land up to the basic, I mean, to landing up into these basic results outcome only. Okay, first is like increase the efficiency, saving the cost, saving the time, saving generating more revenues. Okay, so any industry, like any industry, any domain, we will be performing the same kind of same kind of objectives only. In HR services, so I just mentioned about the only top two, mostly known scenarios. There are many other scenarios, but payroll generation, employee onboarding are the scenarios where many of the HR service, many of the organization in the HR services, these tasks will be done irrespective of any domain. Actually, irrespective of any domain. So HR services are present in almost all the domains. Okay, wherever it is, wherever the HR services are used, and these tasks are mandatory. Earlier, I mean, most of the time, so many organizations it is done some semi-automatedly or automated manually, but this can be done automatic. I mean, this can be done using RPA automation. Okay, suppose if we consider payroll generation, database. Employee information will be in the database. Okay, and salary part will be like a component of multiple. Salary is net salary is a component of multiple components, and after deductions, the gross salary can be calculated. Okay, there are some multiple components like basic HRA and taxes and other some benefits actually. So, and previous month, total annual tax calculation is done, and it is kept into a one value, some place in for that particular account for particular employee in a particular database or table, and every month we are deducting some tax. So that tax calculation also, it involves some parameters. It involves like calculations based on some parameters. Okay, so those kind of calculations can be handled, or if it is already handled in the database, we can actually pull the data. We can pull the data for the respective employee, and can generate the payslip and can send to the respective employee. And once the payslip is generated, that can be saved into at a particular location, either in the FTP or in the database. It can be like again downloadable in future whenever and wherever is required by the employee or employer. And employee onboarding process. So employee onboarding process involves like once the interview process is completed, once the candidate is selected, so background verification. There are background verification involves some standard steps, and once that is completed successfully, then offer is released to the particular candidate. And once it is offered, is accepted, and the joining date is confirmed, and employee will be joining. So joining formalities. Once the joining formality is completed, seat allocation, system allocation, and project allocation, and other like other some other miscellaneous activities can be handled using RPA automation. So your understanding, like, I mean, whatever the scenarios we are discussing, so these are all the common scenarios in various domains. Okay, you are with me? I'm taking a minute for a pause. If we have any questions, then we can, I mean, you can ask me. Or
Hello.
yes,
Yes, I have couple of questions. So does this training like for UiPath covers the BA side of it also? Um, like a business analyst for a UiPath?
business analyst in the sense like we will be discussing the use cases. Okay, with the scenarios like good candidates for RPA RPA implementation. So by
Okay.
understanding those things, those use case scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
so we will be like making I mean we can actually coming to, I mean, good understanding on the analysis part and like finding the opportunities. I mean, business analyst will be like finding the opportunities in the organization for the new projects.
Okay. Yeah.
Suppose, yeah, suppose I will take one example in IT industry. There
Mm-hmm.
is a production support team. Okay,
Yes.
production support team will be receiving incidents.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some, I mean, there are some scenarios. Suppose in IT industry, during a patching or software upgrade, they will be happening during the non-business hours or like weekends. Okay,
Yes.
okay. During the weekend, or like, and there is another system which will be monitoring all these production servers
Mm-hmm.
for some threshold values. Okay, so like
Mm-hmm.
CPU utilization time, if it goes down or up, if the CPU time is crosses some 90% or like some threshold value set, okay,
Mm-hmm.
there is an automated system in the back end. It will generate an incident and it will assign to the production support team.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
taking considering that kind of scenario. Okay, if any of the weekend or any during any daytime, I mean during a business hours or non-business hours, maybe that happens. There may be a spike that happens for a while, a minute or some 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
If consider a server cluster of 200 or like 1,000 server cluster, if it
Okay.
happens for all the 1,000 servers,
Mm-hmm.
there are 1,000 incidents will immediately gets created
Mm-hmm.
and it will be assigned to the production support team.
Okay.
And it has to be it has to be resolved manually by production
Okay.
support team. Okay,
Okay.
what they will
Mm-hmm.
be mentioning in the root cause, there is a threshold
Mm-hmm.
of utilization. Okay, but it is not impacting any business. I mean any application. Okay,
Okay.
okay. Here the task is very redundant. Actually, they need to close all the incident. Otherwise, the incidents will pile up, and again, it's a compliance issue for the respective department. Okay,
Yes.
or respective lead. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
L3 team, what they have to do, they have to complete this resolution of incidents within no time,
Mm-hmm.
because every weekend this kind of thousand incidents will be
Yes.
created. So and it has to be closed immediately. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
if, if it is aging, then again it's a compliance issue. Okay,
Yeah.
so uh, so these kind of activities can be automated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so suppose the incidents generally happens in a remedy. I mean, it will come to it will be assigned to the it will be recorded in remedy. Actually, remedy is a tool where the incidents will be. Most of the industries, I mean, most of the software companies are using remedy. So I'm considering
Mm-hmm.
that example. So it is
Okay.
having the incident details will be displayed in a form, web form. Okay. If we mention, if we give the incident number in the incident input box, it will fetch all the details. Okay.
Okay.
And the L3 team will be like mentioning some details here and there in that particular form, like inputting some values or like selecting some drop downs or selecting some option boxes or radio buttons, and then they will be like and the final result they will be entering some common generic comments and just selecting for resolve, clicking the resolve button. So these are some 5 to 10 steps will be involved in resolution of a one particular ticket, and that will involve some 4 to 5 minutes, or taking for example some 2 to 5 minutes, depends on the. Okay. So this is a repetitive task for the L3 team resources. Okay.
Okay.
So either here what can happen, after some 100 tickets he will get bored. Okay. And there may be chances, I mean he may not be work efficiently as good as when he started beginning, when he or she beginning the resolution process. Okay. And this is very boring task. Okay. But
Okay.
that has to be completed within no time.
Mm-hmm.
So using web automation and Excel automation, in Excel we have the list of incidents. Okay. Using
Okay.
the Excel automation, we can actually read all the incident numbers and keep it into a particular data table in the RPA UiPath. I mean UiPath. I'm explaining about UiPath. In UiPath, we have data table concept. Data table will be like can be like in memory Excel format. It is in the form of in memory Excel. Okay, it is having a columns and rows. Okay, so we read the Excel data and place it into a data table, and there we process each incident, taking each incident from the data table, and use the web automation. Go to the incident management tool and place the incident number over there, and then fetch the details, fill the required details for resolution process, and finally save or resolve the incident. Okay. This entire 5 to 6 steps, it will take hardly 1 minute or less than 1 minute, or using RPA.
Yes.
So how much effort we are saving? We are almost saving 400%, almost 200 to 400% of effort. Okay. And this is huge savings for the team as well as the organization. Okay.
Okay.
And it will be more accurate. And
Okay.
it will be done immediately also. Like suppose on over a weekend that any patching or upgrade activity or like any incident raised, right? So we can actually create a bot which they can actually monitor continuously that incident management system. Okay. As soon as that kind of incident comes, it will be like immediately addressed and it will be resolved actually. So the turnaround time will be very less if we use
Okay.
RPA. Okay.
Okay. Got it. So, like, what
Okay.
is the scope? Like how many companies are using? Like, how are the job openings on this one currently, or maybe in future?
I mean, it is. There are many opportunities. Many organizations are implementing or implemented this
Okay.
UiPath. I mean
Okay.
RPA, various
Okay.
tools, but among that, UiPath is one of the toppest tool actually. I mean, it is currently leading among the marketplace.
Okay.
Okay, like the Fortune. Yesterday I discussed about the top 20 companies like. Wells Fargo, HSBC. I mean, wherever this kind of processes are involved. Okay, like service-based companies like Deloitte, Accenture, Infosys, TCS, Capgemini, HCL, okay, Bank of America, and many more actually. Like okay, so
Okay.
as now, I mean, as now moving, I mean, many of the global giants are moving towards automation to enhance their profits and reduce the efforts, okay, and reduce the losses. Okay, So
Okay.
it is been, so wherever it is this kind of repetitive tasks are required, and where there is no human decisioning is required, so this RPA automations are implemented or implementing. It is going to, it is actually, the projections are, it is exponentially going to increase for the next 10 years. So
Okay.
last 5 years it is continuously growing, and in next 10 years it is going to increase tremendously. It is one of the toppest, I mean, it is one of the top required skill among the top 20. Actually, currently, if you see in any, if you find out in any, I mean, in any sites, you can find this information. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So similarly, like if we see other domains like a banking domain, we'll see we covered HR and IT, right? So banking and finance also. So we will be like performing some credit checks. Okay, if any customer requested for loan, and there are some certain process involved in that, right? So as part of the loan processing, whether that customer is eligible for loan, or for how much loan is eligible, how much amount that can be dispersed. So based on those things are actually currently doing by loan manager. He has to, I mean that loan manager will be like looking into different applications, and arriving to a certain decision. The if that loan requester, or like customer requested for some, suppose for a some 100k dollars, but if he is not eligible, what is the eligibility, those kind of eligibility check, and like uh, those kind of processes can be done automatically using this RPA installation, I mean RPA implementation. Okay, by using, with the implementation of RPA, those the turnaround time, actually the turnaround time for the respective task will be drastically reduced. Okay, the efficiency is almost increased by more than 100% or 200% in every task. Okay, wherever this is implemented, so this RPA is implemented, there mostly like cost will be reduced, and effort will be reduced, and turnaround time will be reduced, and efficiency is improved. Okay, so this is the main basic objective of RPA. Okay, wherever it is required, I mean we can make it out actually. In every, we can make it out in each and every task, or like a process. We can make out all these. We can actually understand, and we can understand this by understanding the RPA, and understanding the business process. We can make out which process can be automated, and which process is good candidate for RPA implementation. Okay, and there are other common tasks in banking and finance, like data entry, reviewing of applications, customer onboarding. So these are all having certain steps for the respective task. So those processes can be automated. So moving to the healthcare domain also, so we have various tasks. So those can be automated, like payment processing, claims settlement, and patient registration process. Okay. So all these processes, all these tasks are, these are all the common tasks in the healthcare domain, but there are some certain steps are there. So those can be like automated. So in manufacturing domain also, we have certain tasks actually, like inventory management, inventory reporting. There are certain steps are involved. So those steps are currently done by manual effort. So those steps also, I mean those processes also can be like automated using RPA implementations. So RPA, I mean, so far we have covered various use cases in different domains. So if we try to understand, I mean, what is in the RPA implementation, the different phases. Okay, the RPA life cycle explains about various phases in the RPA implementation. First of all, we need to discover or identify the process for automation. So like we discussed in the earlier various domains, so what are all the process or steps for good for automation, those kind of opportunities we need to identify, and those opportunities will be converted into the projects or RPA products of RPA implementation. So once the opportunities are identified, and they need to be like we need to identify the right tool for the implementation as part of the solution design. We need to design a solution for that particular suppose if it is a web automation, or it's a combination of web automation, PDF automation, and Excel automation. We need to like prepare a solution document, or we need to document the steps which are involved for the automation. So that is mentioned, or that is those steps will be like captured and mentioned in the solution design. And once solution design is completed, so we need to like go with the bot development, and once that is bot development will be done with the developers. Once that is completed, I mean the task will be once that I mean in bot development, various components will be split into multiple tasks. Multiple tasks will be assigned to the multiple developers. Parallelly, like a development can be done, like we discussed yesterday. I mean, a major task can be split into multiple tasks. Each multiple task will be can be carried out with a single developer. And once that is completed, then all tasks will be like integrated and like will be locally unit tested, and then further it is given to the testing team. It has been deployed in the testing environment. In the test environment, testing team will be like performing all the test cases, and they will be running all the test cases to validate the functionality as well as the other features, and it will make, and if there are any bugs, it will be like fixed. And then once there are no bugs, that part of change or that part of functionality will be like moved to the next into the UAT environment. And then once the users will be doing the testing, once there are no bugs in the UAT environment, further it will be moved to the production. For the it is we can say it is a live environment or like a production environment where the real users will be using the application. Okay, and if there are any production bugs, L3 production support team will be like analyzing that in the beginning, and then it will be like if it is it can be fixed by L3 team, they will fix it. Otherwise it has to be like if there is any code change that will be assigned to the development team, and then further it is fixed, and then it is moved again to the production live environment. Okay, and once it is live there, the monitoring and maintenance phase will be there. Okay, coming to the system requirements, we need this UiPath will be suitable for only Windows operating system, preferably like Windows 10. Minimum we need 8 GB to 16 GB RAM, and 60 GB of hard disk space is required. These are all various editions available, UiPath editions, like a community edition, enterprise edition, enterprise trial edition, and enterprise full edition. So I've created a document for installation of UiPath. So I will be sharing this document. So UiPath components, there are 3 major components in the UiPath product. UiPath Studio, which is used for which is a visual environment where we can actually use drag and drop activities for developing the bot. UiPath robot or UiPath assistant. UiPath, it executes the bot which is developed by developers, or it is already if there is a already bot developed and it is there, so we can use that component and run using this UiPath bot or robot, UiPath robot or assistant. UiPath Orchestrator. It is a web application. It is installed in a separate server, where we will be doing the configuration, or we are actually calling it the orchestration. Or orchestration is like configuring the bots, scheduling the bots, and monitoring the bots. And there are various other things like managing the assets, processes, logs, everything like will be done in the UiPath Orchestrator. If you see the UiPath architecture in the UiPath, there are 3 layers in this: UI layer, middle layer, and DB layer. In the UI layer, the front end layer, UiPath Studio will be there, where we can develop the bots. Once that is completed, the bots are completed, they are actually like moved to the orchestrator. Orchestrator is in the middle layer, or it is called service layer. So orchestrator will be like act like a the complete hub for controlling and managing the bots. Like it will be deploying. It is a place for the deployment of the bots, and there are certain processes. Jobs will be there, queues will be there, assets will be there. We will come to know more about all these concepts in the coming sessions. There is another called repository or DB layer, where the robots configuration, assigning process information, queues information, and queue items information will be stored and saved in the database layer. So that's the conclusion of today's session. If you have any doubts or questions, let us discuss. If you have any doubts, then we can discuss. We can just wind it up if you don't have any questions. Yeah, I'm considering the silence is like you understood everything and there are no questions. If there are no questions, then we can wind it up this. Thank you, everyone.